As mentioned, we have got Brendon Macaraeg, who is here from Zscaler with us. He's the Senior Product Marketing Manager. And well, I'm quite excited because I am going to be joining Brendon over on camera to go over some of the new things Zscaler has been up to, including a demo. And then we're going to save a little bit of time for questions at the end. So keep those questions coming in. Again, thoughtful, insightful, best question can also win a $50 gift card. So not only do you get to pick an expert brain here with me today, but you also might be rewarded for your curiosity. It's a win-win. I love it. And with that, I'm going to jump on camera and let's kick things off, Brendon. Well, Brendon, it is so great to have you here, and I appreciate you letting me kind of pick your brain today.
Yeah, absolutely, Mackenzie. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about the considerations the audience must keep in mind as IT and security leaders think through their security tech stack to secure access to SaaS apps, cloud-based services, and the internet, so staff do not introduce risk to the organization. Perhaps first you can kind of like level set and define what zero trust means, since some of our audience may not be fully familiar with the concept, and then you can move into how Zscaler applies zero trust to secure the hybrid workforce.
Yeah, sure. So zero trust essentially means never trust, always verify. And that's really shorthand for regardless of wherever the user is, a zero trust approach to cybersecurity really requires a response of, look, I have no trust in you, so I have to verify you first before I can give you access to the resources that you want. And that's really called the principle of least privilege access. But in terms of how Zscaler applies a zero trust architecture, I want to go through that so the audience understands our approach to zero trust. And on this slide, you've got basically two buckets of applications. On the left, on the top left, you have those are managed by others, and those reside in public cloud or elsewhere on the internet. Those are also your SaaS apps like Salesforce, SAP Concur, or Google Workspace. And on the upper right, you have apps that are managed by you in private cloud or private data center. And then at the bottom down there, you have your workforce and you have your workloads. You've got IoT devices. You've got your business partners that you collaborate with, and you want to be able to collaborate with those folks. But how do you do it when those that those users are not connected directly with a routable network to the applications? So what Zscaler does is we have what we call the Zero Trust Exchange. We sit in the middle of all of this, and that's what these four steps are here representing. So the first thing we say is stop. Who are you? What's the identity of the user that wants to access the application? Again, everyone's untrusted, so there's no implicit trust and there's no trusted network. So once the user authenticates using the identity provider of your choice, that could be Okta, Duo, Ping. Basically, then we know we have to move on to, okay, where are they trying to go? What applications do they want to access? And that's where we have an app policy put in place because we're connecting the user to an application, not to the network. And that prevents lateral threat movement. And then third, we're looking at what is the risk. We're computing a risk score basically, and we have a continuous analysis of various factors: the user's behavior, the device posture, the destination or the domain that they're trying to connect to, what's the content that they want to request. And all of this is enriched with third-party intelligence. We have over 60 intelligence feeds that will basically give us more context. We also operate the world's largest global security cloud with over 160 points of presence, and that's where we enforce the policy. And we also collect a massive amount of telemetry. The best AI models are basically based on the best data set, and we have that at Zscaler with over 500 trillion transactions and over 500 billion pieces of signal, basically, that we are collecting on an ongoing basis. And that we call that an adaptive access per session. It's really adaptive policy. So once we have that in place, we look at what action do we want to take when we look at all that context. Do we want to allow the user to access the application? Do we want to allow them to block it? Do we want to isolate them in a browser so they can still access the app without bringing risk to the organization? So that's really what we're doing here. But the bottom line is this: when you use a zero trust architecture, the application stays invisible to the internet. And that's important because you don't want attackers finding the application. You want it to stay private. But you still want your authorized users to access the application. So that's really key. At the bottom there, I want to just enforce that zero trust architecture isn't really about bolting on firewalls and VPN concentrators to a network, because all you're doing there is you're really just extending the corporate network, and that's not going to give you zero trust. Next slide, please. So to make this real, I want to basically use a phone book metaphor. Or what we used to do is we used to publish our phone numbers in a phone book, And that was great because our friends were able to contact us, but that also meant that people that we didn't want to hear from were also able to call us. Likewise, when you publish applications on the internet, that means both good and bad unauthorized and authorized users can go after the application. And that's really not ideal. What you want to do is you want to keep the application private. And likewise, you don't want to have your number just for everybody out there to use. You want to basically make sure you're hearing from authorized users only. So with Zscaler, we're keeping your apps private behind the Zero Trust Exchange. And that means only authorized users can get to them. And the attackers can't find them. Next slide, please. I've already kind of gone over how we basically enable secure access to the application. One key piece here is that little blue ZC icon in the Manage by You application bucket. That's a client connector, and that's how we basically route the traffic through our secure cloud. But there's 4 key pieces here that I want to go over in terms of the threat landscape. We really address each stage of the attack cycle by eliminating the attack surface, because again, if you can't see the application, they can't attack it. The second is preventing compromise, and that's through our proxy-based architecture, where we fully inspect all traffic, including encrypted traffic. And then the third is we minimize lateral threat movement, and the fourth is we prevent data loss. So on the right side of the slide, where it says leading customer use cases, want to go over some main use cases. Customers come to us to replace secure web gateways, and that way they can eliminate the outbound DMZ. And they also replace VPNs. That eliminates the inbound DMZ. That's really important because when you eliminate that hardware, it basically reduces cost. In the gray section in the lower right, those are all the things that we can eliminate and therefore simplify costs and also simplify management. And that's really key for our customers. They're coming not just for security, but they also come to us to help eliminate costs and management overhead. Next slide, please. So here we're talking about Gen AI apps. This is something that a lot of our customers need to grapple with and they need to deal with. They want to enable their employees to use these applications, but they also want to make sure they're not letting data leak out. So there's 3 key phases here. Discover, and that's basically you want to know what employees and what departments are using Gen AI apps. The second is manage, so you can understand basically which user groups need to access which applications, and for those that don't need to, should not be accessing these Gen AI apps. So again, the policy decisions you can make are block, allow, or isolate within a cloud browser isolation session. And on the third here, you want to protect your sensitive data from these apps. And there's 2 use cases here that involve inline data loss protection. That's basically, we protect your data by using what's called a data dictionary. And we have AI data classification that's also put to work here. And 2 of the prompts that are given to you here, the first one is about a director of corporate communications. And they want to issue a press release around a new merger and acquisition deal. And the prompt here is create a press release highlighting the acquisition of a new company. There's no sensitive data being asked for here, so that's probably going to be admissible. But in the second one where it says employee PII in the header, create an offer letter for Joe, include the address, phone number, and social security number. Well, social security number, probably not a good thing to put into a third-party data store with a Gen AI app. So that we can block from the user doing that. And then lastly here, we have a new ChatGPT Enterprise Compliance API integration that allows you to connect to those workspaces, retrieve time index conversations for user data. And the end result here is that our customers can make better decisions around data protection, compliance, and hygiene as well. Especially compliance is important for companies that are really in finance or insurance, medical. You really have to be careful about the data that you're allowing your employees to put into these Gen AI apps. Next slide, please. So I mentioned browser isolation, and that's really key for securing BYOD devices. So you may have employees using their own mobile devices, you have third-party contractors using laptops, and that's a challenge because BYOD devices by nature are not managed, meaning they don't have security software installed on them, but those devices still need to access sensitive data. Traditionally, you allow employees to do this through VDI or virtual desktop infrastructure or a third-party enterprise browser, but that's really expensive. If you have even just a few hundred employees that need to use VDI, that can be a few $100,000. Or if you have thousands of employees that need to use it, it's millions of dollars annually. But our solution is this: it doesn't require an agent. It doesn't require any special software. What we do is we render the website that the user wants to access in a Chromium browser within the Zscaler Trust Exchange. So basically, they can still access the website, but it's just rendered as pixels in the browser. It's not actual HTML or CSS or JavaScript code. So that means they can still access the site. We give the administrator the ability to turn on or off the ability to copy and paste data into or from an web application. We also give the ability to stop files from being downloaded from a third-party website. Basically, it's really a great way to allow access to third-party websites and reduce risk and also reduce costs at the same time. So next slide, please. So to wrap up here, what sets Zscaler Threat Protection apart? There's 4 key takeaways here. I mentioned this prior, but we secure all 4 stages of a cyber attack. So we can minimize attack surface, prevent compromise, eliminate the lateral threat movement, because once an attacker gets into your environment, you want to shut that down. So we stop that from happening before they even get into the network. And then we can stop data loss. Second point is comprehensive cloud platform. So we were built to be cloud native, and we can help you eliminate those point products. I talked earlier about how we can help you eliminate tooling, legacy networking, security hardware that you don't need anymore. And then with unmatched inline threat protection, again, this speaks to the global security cloud that we operate. It's AI empowered. We have 500 trillion daily signals, 500 billion daily transactions. And again, the best signal drives the best data protection and response. And lastly, we give you enterprise-wide risk qualification and quantification. Within our management portal, we have reporting that will show you what are the steps you need to take to improve your security posture, how much traffic that's encrypted are you inspecting, how many threats have you blocked. We can really help you show security value to your management team. And I think that's all underscored by the fact that 40% of the Fortune 500 turn to us for cyber threat protection. So that's kind of my overview, Mackenzie, of Zero Trust from the Zscaler point of view.
I think that's awesome. And speaking of Fortune 500 companies, you guys are always giving me the impression that the team at Zscaler is highly flexible and scalable. And I was wondering if we could talk about some of the diverse implementations the Zscaler team has rolled out and how you manage watertight security while being so fast and so adaptable.
So first one, AutoNation. It's a large nationwide auto retailer, 24,000 plus employees, 360 locations. Their challenge mainly was they wanted to improve security for users accessing the internet, and they also wanted to enable the use of Office 365. So from day one, we were able to give them the visibility into the internet traffic that they needed to get that cyber protection in place. We got them to slash their administrative costs by eliminating hardware they didn't need anymore, and really shrank their technology footprint for their retail locations, which means improved, less management overhead. But what's interesting about AutoNation is that we helped them through our firewall help block peer-to-peer traffic that was taking upwards of 500 gigabytes of traffic monthly. So that's a lot of bandwidth that they were paying for that they shouldn't have been. And also by stopping peer-to-peer file sharing, of course, that also eliminates threats coming into the environment. The next one up here is United. They're obviously a very well-known global travel provider, 92,000 employees globally, 342 destinations worldwide. Their main challenge that they came to help, that we need to help them with, is protecting their company's infrastructure for technology and also securing the entire ecosystem, including their people and their physical assets. And we did this in phases for them. So the first phase was around securing the employees wherever they were, remote offices, airports, et cetera. And then the second phase was about phasing out on-premise VPNs and internet gateways. And an also interesting aspect here was they acquired Continental Airlines, and that's in that M&A scenario, they wanted to eliminate disparate overlapping systems and really standardize security worldwide for all their employees. So that was really a great outcome for them. I think what's good about moving on to Unilever, for those of you who are not familiar with them, I'm sure you have products in your bathroom probably from them. They are a large global consumer goods product service company. They own over 400 brands. They touch over 2.5 billion consumers. But their challenge that we helped them with was implementing infrastructure and security that stands up to the 70% of e-commerce growth that they saw during the pandemic. And again, we did this in phases for them. So the first phase was around securing their users, internet, and as well as application access. We also did what we call a local breakout. And what that is it's an internet access point that you place close to the user as possible. And that enables an organization to offload internet-bound traffic from local branches and remote offices and then route it directly to the internet via local ISP. So that was really key for them. The second phase here was around securing cloud workload communications. So really getting that zero trust connectivity in place was a great way to simplify and secure their application access. And there were some really key outcomes. So the first was around securing those connections for 100,000 employees, and making the internet basically their corporate network. And then we also lowered costs 60% for them by transforming the use from MPLS, which is multi-protocol label switching hardware devices, to an internet and SD-WAN model. And really, we were able to help them increase sustainability through improved data analytics and insights. So those are just a couple of examples. We work with customers across verticals, different sizes of organizations, but hopefully that communicates the technical security that we're able to provide as well as cost savings.
That's incredible. I'm such a fan of hearing these case studies and real world examples because it really puts things in context for the audience and just, how could this work for me? How could this work for my organization? And so I'm wondering, can we take things a little bit further and also see Zscaler in action today?
So Mackenzie, what I'm showing you here is Zscaler Internet Access. This is the means by which we enable our customers to offer secure internet and SaaS application access to their employee bases. So there's three things I want to go over: SSL inspection policy, cloud app control, and then also advanced threat protection. So those are three key ways to really help protect the hybrid workforce. The first thing for SSL inspection to keep in mind is that 95% of the global internet traffic, according to Google, which looks at all the traffic traversing their servers around the globe, is encrypted. And additionally, Threat Labs, which is Zscaler's internal threat research team, they put out an annual report about encrypted attacks. And in their most recent report, they said that 86% of all threats are delivered through encrypted channels. So what that means is if you are concerned about security for your organization, you must get that visibility in encrypted traffic. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up a new policy that's basically going to inspect all the incoming traffic for threats. So I'm just going to give it a name. And basically what I want to do, and all these options here, we give you all these granular options that you can basically get more granular in terms of the URL categories you can apply the encryption inspection to, or certain cloud apps. But I'm going to keep this really simple right now, and I'm going to go down to the action section. Now, what I'm basically specifying here is I want to inspect all traffic, and I'm going to leave these default settings here. But I also want to make sure that I'm inspecting using the latest TLS encryption certificate version. So I'm going to change these to TLS 1.3 for the minimum client, and then also TLS 1.3 for the server. And I'm going to save this. Now, one thing some of the audience might be wondering, well, what if there's traffic I don't want to inspect because I'm in the medical or insurance or some financial vertical that there's certain information that for compliance reasons I don't want to inspect. We can do what's called a bypass, and you can basically select traffic from specific destinations that you don't want to inspect. But right here, the new rule that I just set up is here, the third rule, and we evaluate the rules in the order that they're set up. There are some default rules that Zscaler puts in place that we recommend as best practice. That's what these other three rules are. But the one that I just inspected, just put in place is here, the third rule for SSL, inspect all traffic. And these are the criteria, the actions that it'll take. It'll block if it doesn't have a good certificate and other criteria are not met. Otherwise, it's going to inspect the traffic. The next area I want to show you is cloud app control. And I'm going to put this within the context of Gen AI applications that I talked about earlier. So what I want to do here is I want to basically block access to ChatGPT and other open AI applications. I'm going to create a new rule, and I'm going to select AI and ML applications. I should be getting a dialog. Okay, I'm going to give it a name. Then I'm going to go down to my cloud applications. There's an entire category of cloud apps that you could block it just by selecting AI ML, but I'm going to get a little granular here. And I'm going to select ChatGPT and OpenAI. And then I'm going to block. That's the action I want to take. So in other words, if a user tries to access those URLs for ChatGPT or OpenAI, they're not going to be able to access them. And then I'm going to save it. And the new rule will be, so here we go. It's the very first rule that I just added under the rule order. So again, we evaluate the rules in order. My new rule shows at the top as one of the rules that I'll go through. I'm blocking Gen AI apps. I specified which Gen AI apps I want to block, and that's going to be in place. So whenever employees try to go access those specific URLs for those applications, they're not going to be able to do that. They'll get a warning in the browser saying you're violating policy for your organization. And the last thing I want to show you here is advanced threat protection. So I talked about inspecting SSL traffic, showed you how to set that rule up. So what that enables you to do then is once you're inspecting traffic, you can basically get that. I have all the blocking in place already here. And as you can see, there's different things I can protect against now. Command and control servers, malicious contents in sites, browser exploits. When browsers get old, there's sometimes vulnerabilities, so we look for those. Phishing sites, something I want to stop on phishing. So the attackers are getting much more advanced with their attack techniques. Well, sometimes what they'll do is they'll stand up a new fake landing page. Say you get an email or a text from your bank or purporting to be from your bank. You press on the link in the text, goes to a fake landing page. It looks branded, but what will happen is if the attacker thinks that you're not going to fall for the bait, they'll take that web page down. So what we're doing is we're looking at all the URLs that are created on an ongoing basis, and we look at the age of the URL. If it's a new domain, probably not going to be the most trustworthy domain. So we're looking for those things all the time because that's what the phishers are doing. They put up new web pages on some domain that they set up real quick. They take them down very quickly as well. Other things that we can protect against: crypto mining, SSH tunneling. That's an important technique to block because what attackers will do is they will exfiltrate data or take data from an organization over SSH, which is encrypted, and it's hard to see what they're doing if you don't inspect those tunnels. Peer-to-peer file sharing. Also, what we can do is if you have countries that you know that you don't do business with, we can basically block the traffic or any kind of interaction with sites located within those geographic areas. So for example, the US State Department has a list of countries that are sanctioned. You could set up and select the nations that are in that sanctioned list of nations and block any traffic from those countries. So I think there's other things I could talk about, Mackenzie, but I think those are pretty foundational, and appreciate the time to be able to present those to your audience.
No, not at all. I mean, this has been super cool. I love seeing under the hood and all these features, and honestly, things that I wasn't even expecting to see today, I've seen. So thank you. Now, last thing I think before I let you go, we're going to throw up a poll here in a second, but also we're going to start pulling some questions from the audience. Are you open and available for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty. So we do have one of these here in the handouts tab already, the solution brief. But if you're looking for that interactive demo, feel free to grab either of these links here through the QR codes up on the screen, and make sure you do that. And then I'm going to get the poll on up here, and then we're going to do some questions. So we've had a ton of questions come through, but again, feel free to keep sending those over, and we're going to be picking some of the best questions to pitch over here to Brendon. And going once, going twice, going 3 times, I am going to take these QR codes down. But again, the solution brief is in the handouts tab for you guys to download at any point today. Now, first poll here is, how are you currently securing access to SaaS and cloud-based resources? So we're curious, is this through a VPN or virtual private networking? Is this a secure web gateway, browser isolation? Other, well, you can let us know in the chat what that might be, or maybe you're not sure. Who knows? I don't know how I'm securing these things, and that's also good. So feel free to answer that, and I'm going to pull Brendon on here to chat and ask him some questions, and then I'm going to throw up another poll about halfway through Q&A. So, Brendon, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, excellent. Okay, so first question I've got here from Nick is, how does Zscaler differentiate its zero trust architecture from other vendors?
Yeah, so I went over this a little bit in the presentation. So essentially what sets us apart is we can help customers address all 4 stages of the cyber attack when it comes to minimizing attack surface, preventing the compromise, eliminating lateral movement, and stopping data loss, all at all four stages of the cyber attack chain, we can basically offer something that will help customers basically deal with all those problems. The second is really our cloud platform is built to be cloud native. It's global in nature, and not only is it scalable, but it also helps our customers eliminate point products. I talked about that a little bit. So if you have inbound and outbound DMZ security products and services, chances are very good that Zscaler is going to help you eliminate quite a bit of those, and therefore help you realize a positive ROI on the investment in Zscaler. But overall, the scale of our cloud also means that we can help you reduce business risk as well. And third, we have unmatched inline threat protection. Most recently, we were evaluated against other SSE platforms for threat detection and prevention, and we received a AAA rating. And most recently, we also got a really good rating from CyberRisk in terms of inline threat detection. And that all comes from, again, the best signal. I think I said this during the presentation, but the best response and detection is driven by the best signal. And Zscaler has a ton of reliable real-world data since we are inspecting all that traffic from all our customers globally. We have 500 trillion daily signals that we process, 500 billion daily transactions that we're also examining and inspecting inline. All of that basically adds up to the best signal to apply to our AI and ML models, which then are proactively helping to identify threats inline before they can even reach our customers' endpoints. And then lastly, we're the only vendor with enterprise-wide risk quantification. Not only do we protect you, but we can also show you in actionable reports, these are the things that you need to do. And here's how we can also map against, say, the MITRE framework. We can help you show where you need to improve your policies and then show you how to do that. So we're proactively helping customers get better with their security posture. So I think that would pretty much wrap that one up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then, so I know you talked a little bit about kind of ROI, a bit about endpoints. So we've got some follow-up questions or kind of related questions here. So first one I'm going to pitch you here is from Rob. He's asking, is Zscaler a cost-effective way to manage remote offices in countries that have significant firewall blocking of VPN technologies?
Yeah, so I think the key concept to remember here is that Zscaler is helping establish a user-to-app connection. We're connecting users to applications or other cloud resources. And so you can think of that as user-to-app segmentation. We're not connecting users to the network. So basically, because that's our approach to Zero Trust, we are basically we can help customers eliminate those legacy firewalls since they're routing their traffic through the Zscaler global security cloud. We're going to take their traffic into our proxy and basically look at the context of the user, the device, what website they're trying to connect to, what's the other context around the request, and continually evaluate that and inspect the traffic and enforce security policy. And then for those connections that are legit, we'll let them go on to the application or destination that they're trying to get to. So in that sense, VPN and we can make VPN and legacy firewalls irrelevant.
Awesome. No, that's a great answer. Thank you. And so another question here. Actually, let me pin that one for now. Next one here I've got is, what measures does Zscaler take to ensure Zero Trust policies are consistently applied across on-premises and cloud infrastructures?
Yeah, I think at a high level, what matters here is we don't really tend to think about the way we put policies in place in terms of this one's for data center, this one is for cloud or off, not within our on-premise compute environment. It basically, again, users connect to applications, not the network. They are also looking to basically have the best possible experience in terms of having that secure access, and Zscaler can help do that. It's really, we don't differentiate between on-premise and cloud when it comes to providing that secure access.
All right, perfect. And okay, we were coming up close to time, so I might just have one more question here before we have to wrap. So let's hope we make it a good one. Okay, this one is, can Zscaler work in conjunction with endpoint protection to require minimum security patches, etc., in order to participate in the network connection Zscaler provides?
Yeah, so we have several endpoint protection vendor integrations that are basically make the most of both the customer's investment in Zscaler as well as their endpoint vendor. So whether it's CrowdStrike or SentinelOne, I believe I put in my answer here, there's a page on our website called zscaler.com/partners/technology. You can see all the endpoint vendors that we work with, and we actually link to the deployment guides there. That'll basically walk you through like what are the steps necessary to ensure that you're making the most of your investment in Zscaler as well as the endpoint protection vendor, and having those two solutions work together in harmony so that you can really have a strong security foundation in place. So I'd really encourage folks to go to that technology partner page, and you can explore the deployment guides there.
That is great. Awesome. I'm going to shoot that in the chat in just a sec. I just need to find that link and then I'll shoot it in there. But any kind of final call to action, or in terms of, if someone's curious to start a demo, get started, find out a little bit more, see if this works for them, what would you suggest to the audience today?
Yeah, so Mackenzie, there's 2 links and 2 QR codes that I provided, and I'm sure you'll get those to the folks. But basically, there's an overall solution brief in terms of how Zscaler can help your organization secure work from home, work from anywhere use cases. To get that fast, direct, yet secure SaaS application access. If you want to secure remote access, you can move away from VPN or VDI. If you want to make sure you have zero trust access for handheld point of sale systems, there's a document that we can give you after this that can walk you through some of that. The second thing is I actually put together a interactive demo of Zscaler Internet Access. So the demo that I showed prior, you can go ahead and it'll walk you through the steps to create security policy so you can understand how Zscaler Internet Access works. There's no commitment to do that. There's no installation required. It's actually an HTML and images put together just to walk you through, this is what it would be like to use Zscaler Internet Access day to day in terms of setting up security policy and looking at the reporting that shows you security insights. So would encourage for folks that want to learn more to scan those QR codes. Totally safe. I tested them myself before today, so go ahead and feel free to use that. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Yeah, I've got those 2 QRs up again, so anyone who's curious, feel free to grab those. Again, in the handouts tab, the solution brief is also linked, and then I just threw the partner technology link you'd reference there in the chat, so feel free to check that out. And with that, I want to just give you one final thank you for being here, and it's always a pleasure to chat with Zscaler and see what you guys are up to, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely, Mackenzie. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take good care.